Yes, this is one of the bigger traps in hiring. And I've made this specific mistake myself when hiring individuals because when I didn't have an appreciation for some of these finer points, I would just gravitate more towards individuals that were the same archetype as myself. In a way, for me to validate to myself that I am very good at the job. I did not understand it, obviously, in my more foolish days. I only understood it in my less foolish days afterwards as I aged. So, yes, there is a real risk and it happens all the time. Right. And so this is where I ask again executives and founders to be very clear on why you are hiring for this role. It sounds like, okay, cool. Yeah, sure. But like we've all generated these job descriptions and all these other artifacts. Sometimes your search firm will make you write some things, et cetera, et cetera. And you should do it. Why not? But I find that what then ends up happening, I'm sure you've seen it too, is like it's like a 4-page document with like every requirement under the sun. And then you don't follow half the things you wrote anyway. So I saw that enough times that I realized actually what needs to happen. The problem is not that we don't have all the requirements. The problem is we have too many. So I started doing this myself in my own hiring. I started requiring for my own hiring for my teams what I call the MSN list. The MSN list is a very, very simple technique. It's basically for a given role. Instead of this 2-page, 5-page long job description, they should have every qualification under the sun. What I like to do is just put 3 bullet points under M, which is must have, 3 bullet points under S, which is should have. And of course, every PM knows what's coming up next. 3 bullet points under N, which is nice to have, right? And the 3 bullet points, they cannot be fluff. Passion for building delightful products. That is fluff. It doesn't mean anything. So the bullet point has to be evaluatable concretely in an interview process or through an evaluation of their background, including references, or both. So either it has to be evaluatable through the interview process or through their background itself, or both. So that's one criterion. Second, don't include in this MSN list table stakes that you want every employee to have. So there's no point saying high integrity. It's like, so you don't want high integrity for some other roles? Doesn't make any sense. So don't include that stuff. I want you to include only the very specific things that you absolutely care about, the 3 bullet points under the M. Like, what do you really care about? So an example of something that is good, by all means, you can say something like strong empathy for customers, especially in domains where there is high ambiguity, because that you can test in an interview process. You can literally test that through a set of questions. I'm not saying that has to be, but if that is an important criterion for this hire, by all means, right? Include it under M or S or N, depending on how important it is. You can also have background related things. For instance, deep experience in the fintech banking domain. That is fine. But now you are going to need to evaluate it somehow. You're going to need to evaluate it in the interview process itself and or through the background that they have and through reference checks you do. Now, in this case, the other thing I recommend, and this is like startups that have advised on this specific hiring of their CPOs, they now do it for their entire company. For any important role, the CEO doesn't sign off on a hiring requisition until there's an MSN list. So then the next step is we are not just creating this list so that we can feel good that we created a list. What I then do is I now assign specific individuals. So you have an interview loop in most companies you do. You have them talk to 4, 5, 6 people. Usually for a leadership role, it's way more than 4, 5, 6 people. So I like to assign specific bullet points to specific interviewers, which is like you're responsible to basically interview them for this M and this S. Okay, you are responsible for evaluating them for strong customer empathy, especially in an ambiguous, fast-moving domain. So again, now your interviews are very focused. They're not like, let's sit and ask them a bunch of questions that we just Googled 5 minutes ago, and let's try to see how clever and smart they are. It's very focused. That's one part. The other part I wanted to share is I also ask founders to be very clear on what it is that they want this person to accomplish. So for that, I basically give them a couple of questions. One question that I give them is, let's assume this individual has now been in this role for 9 to 12 months. For any growth stage startup, 9 to 12 months is the right time granularity. As you are now evaluating this person and how they performed, what is the one thing that you want to be able to score them an 11 out of 10 on. Not a 10 out of 10, an 11 out of 10. Meaning, what is the one thing that they should have absolutely done a spectacular job on? Do you have clarity on that? That one thing cannot be insignificant. It cannot be like, oh, they should set up a good sprint process, right? That is not significant enough. It has to be something related to either outputs or outcomes or team. It has to be meaningful at that level, right? So that requires a lot of thought. So whenever I ask a hiring manager this question, they're like, I've never thought about it. And it's funny because before I also used to not think about this thing, but now I'm much more clearer anytime I'm hiring too, that what is that one thing? And then furthermore now, I want you to communicate that one thing to prospective candidates at the right stage in the process. Because now they will also understand very clearly what you are expecting. Now, of course, like in any product leadership role, you're going to be doing dozens of things. But what are the one or two things that absolutely matter? So that's one question. And again, it's a seemingly simple sounding question, but it creates a ton of clarity on what it is that we are even looking for. Second question that I'll share is I also ask them to write down, once this person has come on board, what aspects of the product make sense for you to still continue to own as the founder or CEO or executive. So it is not a given that just because you've hired this person, that now you're going to wash your hands off the product. You need to be clear what aspects of the product you're going to continue to own. Why? Because this is the main point of friction, which is one of the reasons why this role is very short-lived by default. I really encourage founders to not just assume, yeah, they should own strategy. Because I try to find out, is formulating and clarifying the strategy going to bring meaningful clarity to your execution and to your outcomes? Okay, great. Are you great at strategy yourself as the founder? And if they say, yes, I am really great, and the company right now, there's nobody else who can do it, and I really see it. So then I say, great, you should likely not delegate it. And you should make it clear to candidates in the interview process, not once they're hired. You should make it clear to them in the interview process that these are aspects of the product that I want you to own entirely. These are aspects of the product that you will own, but I would love to consult on. And then these are aspects of the product that I will be the primary owner on, and then I will expect you to consult me on. Creating that clarity and doing this with intent solves a lot of problems that tend to occur downstream.